I think I'm gonna break it down like this. A lot of people have been asking about what I had went through and why I'm in the place that I'm in. It's like it's kind of hard to explain. Um, I'm gonna start with 2014. That's a little bit more significant. I had been in the church for like 20 something years, and yeah, my children were very young, very young. And I had was I had got into a rut, and I ended up staying with family for a couple of years. It was quite a few years, and I didn't even realize how long I was actually with them. But I didn't realize until now I understand why it happened. 2014, uh, I was done. I was through with what I was going through with family. Technically, I was one of a couple in particular, but I just wanted to be separate. So I ended up waiting until tax time, and I actually found a place. Unfortunately, the place that I found was not too far. It's almost like about 2 or 3 blocks away from the house that I had just left. And that didn't last long. I ended up losing that house. Money got funny. Um, Money got funny, so I was homeless for like, it wasn't very long, but I thank God for the adaptation, because at the time I was working at a grocery store, and I had been working at that grocery store for, altogether with the company, was about the same, about 20 something years. But with this particular store that branched off, I think I was with that part was like 5. I'm thinking about 5 when that company branched off. And it was pretty much with the same people that were with the former store that they had. And that store had transferred from one block to the next. So I was actually living in my car for about a couple of months. I can't remember how long, how many months, but I was actually in financial despair. And living in my car, I was able to get a storage unit somewhere close, not too far from where I worked. So I realized that I had to act out and find something quick, because it was getting starting to get cold, and I didn't want to actually live there. And so what I actually ended up doing was I received a call from my daughter, and my daughter kept telling me, come live with me, mama," which I didn't feel comfortable with that, because she was living with someone else, but she wanted me to come live with her. So I came to live with her for about a few months, but things got a little tricky there. They were too busy trying to play games. They were always desperate for money, and I didn't realize what was going on until now. I understand. I understood the whole setup. So at the time, I was actually homeless. I actually got a membership at Planet Fitness, so I made sure, no, every day. And I never said anything to anyone about being homeless, but they knew. People at work knew, because I had a couple of people that I knew from the neighborhood that made sure they always kept close to what I was doing. Family and people from the neighborhood. So people always knew what I was doing. They always kept my name in their mouth. And I'm gonna be honest with you. So when that came about, and ended up moving in with my daughter, I realized that I did have to end up giving up the car, because of the fact that they had set me up so much. So I was trying to help them with their bills, and they ended up getting this. brand new car. I told them not to get a car, not to get a brand new car, to start small. And of course they didn't. And then next thing you know, they were playing games. They wouldn't take me to work. So a lot of times I had to walk. And the walk was like, I'm thinking at least about 5 miles, which really wasn't that far, but it's the fact that, they had the opportunity, but they would play like they were arguing at night, act it out, and then she would take the car somewhere else. So I wouldn't have a ride to work. So I got fine with that. So I realized, and while I was at work, I made an appointment to the public transportation. And the public transportation helped me to be able to get to work on time in the mornings. And I actually had to maneuver my time so that, because every time they had to pick you up, they always had to pick you up an hour early than your scheduled time because of other people had to go to their appointments, which was understandable. And the job that I had, I thank God for the job that I had because it was flexible, but it was tedious because of the fact that nobody helped. I mean, if I got help, it was like if it was a month's time, I probably got help for like 2 days out of a month. That's how much help I got. And I was doing price changes for a grocery store. So I thank God for being able to do that. And I thank God for his mercy for helping me, because I know situations came when you had the health department, you had weights and measures coming, and it would be detrimental for the store to have to pay a fine because of the fact that I was not able to keep up the job. But I thank God for the way he worked it out for me. Then the time came for when I couldn't pay for the car, and I saw it in a dream. And the dream was like, it was dark, and I was out there standing at the door like we were going out to the parking lot, and my coworker had looked at me and said, "Where's your car?" And I knew it was about to happen. And the people kept calling, people kept calling, people kept calling. I said, "Yeah, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and do this." This was before public transportation, because every morning I would pull up in the parking lot with the car. It would be like 5 or 6 tow trucks sitting there, and they would be sitting all around where I park at. And I would just sit there, and I was just like, because I still had items in the car, so I don't think it really mattered to them anyway, but just them sitting there every morning. So when I went into work and leave in the afternoon, still see my car, be thanking God, I still have a ride, but I knew. So I actually made the decision to just go voluntarily turn it in, give it up. So I left the car at the job, and they finally came and got it. And then like a couple of days later, that Tuesday night that I had to work, and it actually happened. The guy looked at me, he said, "Where's your car?" I'm like, "Oh my God." I have dreams like that. So, and I told him what happened. And so, which I think he actually knew anyway, but staying with my daughter, and I had to do the transportation. I thank God for that working out for me. I was actually able to get to work on time and actually able to get my job done. So then I actually started looking for another job, second job. And so in that part, I ended up finding a place right behind my job, which was a extended stay. And this was back in 2017. This how long it took from 2014 to 2017. All of this took place until 2017. I found a place. It was an extended stay hotel in the back of the store. It's like walking distance, probably like 5 minutes. So, which was good. It didn't even take really that long. But I went back there, and the guy finally found a room for me. He found a room for me, and it was a nice room. I actually liked it, but it was interesting because a lot of people would call it the Roach Motel, or people would call it, the Host Stop or whatever. And it was quite interesting. In the extended stay, they do have people that come around and help and clean the place up. And it was never a dull moment. Um, there was a point in time when I was trying to uh, get service, and and they would never come around. But they always showed up when I wasn't there. I could always tell when they would show up when I wasn't there. I don't know what they were actually looking for, but apparently, whatever they was looking for, they found it. It got to a point where there was an elderly man that was running the place at first, who helped me get me a room, and because of his hands, he was having problems with his hands. He had to go ahead and retire because he was in his 70s, which he was still good. He was still alert and everything. He was good. He was a nice person, but I knew where that was coming from. So when he had to retire, the couple that was going around cleaning the rooms ended up being the manager and the co-managers. And that's when the rubber met the road, so to speak. I do remember a lot of times having dreams and scares. I remember seeing bodies running through the room and stuff. I remember people laying next to me. I remember seeing and feeling, I remember feeling hands coming through the mattress. I could feel regular hands, and I could also feel skeletal type hands coming through the mattresses. I could also remember the attacks. I didn't understand what the attacks were all about, but I remember the attacks coming. They were attacking my legs so I couldn't walk to work. I caught COVID before COVID was COVID. I caught so many different things that went on while I was staying there. And there were always fights. There were always, the cops was always coming there all the time. But there was a little bit of peace. At one point in time, I think the wife of the wife got a little sick for a while, so things kind of calmed down. I don't know why it had anything to do with her, but she got sick for a while, but ended up in a wheelchair. Well, she really wasn't in a wheelchair. She was just using a wheelchair. Really, if she needed it, she really didn't use it. She just rode it to ride around in it. But the husband and wife were always around. And there are times when I would actually see them actually taking food out of the rooms. And a lot of times they would always take cash. Now, those places you were never supposed to take cash. You were always supposed to use a credit card. And I remember a lot of times when I was there, you had to be very careful. And she used to get mad at me about that too. Every time I would leave her office, I wanted a receipt. I don't care how big it would be. It would be big as a Britannica volume set. I wanted my receipt to say that I paid for the room. And so it was one point in time I left and I came back because she would alter it to make it look like she hadn't done anything. But I came back at a few seconds later and said, I need my receipt. She looked at me very funny. And so when she printed it out, it was showing where she was allowing what I was paying for to go to another room. I said, okay. And then that's when the people there were trying to be really, really funny then. I mean, it got to a point where I was never really serviced, in which I didn't want them in the room, no way. I said, I didn't mind cleaning up the room because it wasn't really a big, it was a nice room, but it wasn't big enough for them to come up in there every week to clean. They still went in there when I wasn't there anyway. So my legs were hurting very bad. And when my legs got to hurting real bad, I could not find anything. I would take medication. I would do all this stuff. I would just, so many different things that I tried to take. Then my daughter, what's my daughter? Yeah, my daughter. She said she gave me some drinks, gave me something to drink. So I drank some, it was some beer at the time. And then it kind of calmed down, but when I got up in the morning, it was still bad. Then I finally, actually, I'm being honest with you, I finally found weed. Weed calmed it down. But this was the thing. When I actually had weed, this been back in 2017, 2018. When I actually found it, it helped, but I still had a little slight problem during the day at work. So this is what happens because they always came into my room messing and stuff when I wasn't there. Especially they had a grandson who loved going in rooms, and people used to argue with him all the time about stuff that he would try to take. And so I would have to put it in my book bag and did not realize how strong it was smelling. So walking from the hotel to my job, I had to walk this path through trees. And then when I walked through this path, I went into a parking lot where there was a strip mall, and then there was a diner at the end where a lot of a lot of cops, a lot of cops will be parking. And so all you heard was dogs out there barking. So I'm like, I'm just walking to work because I didn't want them to say, hey, come here, come here. No. So I actually got to work, but this is what really got me fired. 2 weeks before that actually happened, I had got a random drug test. I had got a random drug test 2 weeks prior to that. And of course, I was clear, it was good. But when they realized what I was doing and what I had, nobody asked me why. They just called me into the office and they told me that my name popped up for a random drug test again. And I failed. And they let me go 2 days later. I don't know what happened. I don't care what happened after I left. I really don't care. But that was the day when I realized that I was also being attacked by demonic entities. And being attacked by the demonic entities, I was trying to get relief. And I did not realize in getting relief, I was going to people who really didn't want to help. I'm going to be honest with you. I was going to people who really did not want to help me. And that's what's happening so far.